When Yenny Seo, Yenny, not Jenny, she surprised her mother by pointing out a stranger in the grocery store, for example, and saying, "We walked past that person like 3 weeks ago on the street."
Oh.
And her mother would go, "Huh." When they'd watch movies together, she would often recognise extras just in the background and go,
Recognise extras?
"Yeah, they were in that movie 3 months ago with the blah, blah, blah." And her mother would go, "Huh, that's interesting." Her mother assumed she just had a particularly observant daughter, as you would. You'd think, "Oh." And Yenny herself figured there was nothing unusual about it either. She would see someone out about and she'd flick through the vast catalogue of faces she kept in her head and she'd try and place where she'd seen them before. So it was like, "Oh, that person looks familiar," in her noggin. She says, "It's always been quite fun for me, especially as a child. I remember just really enjoying looking at different faces." Then she grew up and started using social media. So Yenny's, looks like she's probably in her mid-20s. So she's, of the generation. She said, "Look, I'd start a new class in uni or I'd meet people through social gatherings and I'd remember them, what kinds of photos I'd seen them in."
Oh. So
be like, never met them before.
And suddenly say, "Oh, no, I remember you were at that. I saw you were at a party once with a friend of a friend."
Didn't you have
a
yacht with a boar's head strapped to the front? And they're like, So she's already very familiar with them in her head. She's like, "I know stuff about you." And so she'd say, "Oh, you're that person's sibling, or you used to date so-and-so, etc." This, of course, would creep people out pretty quickly because for them, they only just met.
Yep.
So she started to pull that back and she'd maybe go through this in her head, but she'd say, "Nice to meet you." But in her head, she's like, "I know you've got
learn not to creep people out."
Yeah, she pulled it back. So at uni, she had a part-time job. She worked in a shop, a clothing store. And the shop had CCTV, closed-circuit television, security stuff, and it caught an image of a serial shoplifter.
Oh, okay.
The images were grainy and very hard to see, as a lot of CCTV is. I mean, we're led to believe that it's very clear and precise, and you just yell enhance at your computer and it makes it clearer.
I do that all the time.
I know you do, but you have a good computer. But she looked at it and she instantly recognised the person, and the next time they walked into the store, she says to the security guard, that's them. That's the one. And so they grabbed the person got arrested, etc.
Everyone gets executed. Cool. Okay.
Well, they deserved it. The serial shoplifter, not just once, like at least 8 times. Yeah. So she started to get curious about this because other people went, "How did you do this?" So in 2017, she's rummaging around on the Intertube and she found the University of New South Wales face test online. A little quiz. So she gave it a crack.
Is this a face? Is this a face?
Exactly.
Is this a face?
Face or toaster, face or pile of dirt. And she got it right every time.
Nice.
So apparently, at least in 2022, she was in the top 0.05% of all people who took this face recognition comparison test. So it turns out Yenny is a super recognizer.
Welcome to The Wholesome Show.
The podcast in which 2 academics, that's us, grab a few beers, that's those, knock off early, dive down the rabbit hole. That's what we do.
I'm Will Grant.
I'm the other guy. Okay, I'm Rod.
Say your name.
Lambert.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Yenny was unusual. Acquired Prosopagnosia.
Oh, that's a term.
You know the one.
You nerded it up.
Yeah, Prosopagnosia, which comes from Greek and stuff. Basically, since the 19th century, roughly, people noticed this. People would have brain traumas and they'd lose the ability to recognize faces.
Okay.
So something would hit them or whatever.
So that's pile of dirt. Might be a face, might be a pile of dirt.
Well, no, it's more like, I know it's a face, but I don't know if I've seen it before.
Oh, okay. As in can't recognize who the person is.
Yeah, you're like, I'd look at you, turn around, look back and go,
fine. All right.
Have I seen that face before? I don't know. In the 70s then, 1970s, there was a congenital version discovered. It affects quite a few people, like as many as maybe 2% of the population. So people who have never had a head injury, they don't have any problems with their eyesight, but they cannot recognize faces. So
just can't keep them in there?
Yeah.
Like so they recognize people, like they have...
People because of other characteristics. Like they look at how they walk or their smell or clothing style, whatever. But they're
all
like,
faces blend into one?
Yeah, apparently sometimes even their own. They'll look in the mirror and go like, I assume it's me because I'm the one looking in the mirror, but it's not particularly distinctive. For some reason they can't tease it out.
Strange to only spot in the 70s.
I know.
I mean, I know, color blindness or something like that, you may not know the difference. And so I imagine the same with people. These people, they don't know what it's like to spot faces.
You don't know what you don't know.
But just a weird one to...
But you also become super adaptable. People who have
Sure.
what are, in a sense, disabilities, they don't have them diagnosed, they don't realise.
Yeah, yeah.
They come up with, ways.
Yeah.
And so do these folk. And, I mean, we met one. We hung out with one. Yeah. Alan Alda, famous man, Hawkeye from MASH, for those of you who are old enough to know.
Is he on the record about talking about it?
Absolutely, yeah. No question. He couldn't recognise faces, and he'd talk about his strategies for how he'd recognise voices or way people walked or their particular characteristics, weird hats, different coloured hair, whatever. So this face blindness, as it's called, is quite common. Oliver Sacks was classic for it, the guy who talked about brain stuff. So Sacks, what he'd do is, like, if he wanted to remember his best friends, he couldn't tell their faces, but he remembered their features. So one of his buddies had heavy eyebrows, thick spectacles.
Oh, so he literally...
So that's Eric.
I remember him because of those things.
Heavy eyebrows.
Not remembering it in a visceral way.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know the face, but I recognise the glasses and the eyebrows. That's Eric. Or my other buddy, what's his name? Jonathan. He's tall, he's gangly, he's got a mop of red hair. That's my buddy Jonathan.
So you can only have one of each type of friend, though.
Yeah, imagine if two with red hair and who was tall.
Bushy eyebrows.
Fucked. Yeah, he'd be fucked. And apparently he said to New Yorker magazine years later, when he was looking at old photographs a decade after school or longer, didn't recognise anyone. He's looking like, I don't remember.
Look, in fairness.
Yeah. 10 years ago, there you go. That was Keith and that was Janelle. But
like
literally, he's like, there's a bunch of strangers.
Yeah, okay.
So people who've been shit at recognising faces or have had problems with it congenitally as well, we've known about this for years. But the mainstream awareness of people like Yenny...
So they're at the opposite end.
Yeah, who are super recognisers, way more recent. And she's not the only one out there, of course. There are others. So there's a few examples. I'm not going to go through all of them. But here's one. Suha Zaimoglu, you know the one. She posted an ad online looking for a roommate. She met a potential for this position and immediately went, "You're in that TV commercial."
Oh, it was a TV commercial.
Which had aired 7 years earlier, and they'd been in it for like 3 seconds.
Oh, 3 seconds.
She's like, "Oh, you're from that commercial."
Okay, it's
pretty remarkable.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Another one, Lauren Winslow, 42. This is relevant because she remembers the details of the faces of every person in her preschool class. So she'd see them years later and go, "Hey, Johnny." And Johnny would go, "Who the fuck are you?"
Seriously, your preschool class.
Yeah.
I would.
Preschool.
I would struggle to. They're all pretty short. I remember that. Beyond
compared to you,
they all had faces. All of the kids in my preschool class.
Some of them had hands.
Beyond that, I got nothing.
But this ability, this super recognizer thing, it didn't really get much attention until 2009, like really recently. For us, maybe not for people who are 19. That sounds like a long time ago. But for us, that's recent.
For science, I think.
Us means science. That's a shorthand. So a group of researchers led by a Harvard guy, Richard Russell, psychologist, they started looking into this whole thing, these super recognizers. They tested 4 people who apparently had superior face recognition. So, for example, a 26-year-old female student, she said, "Look, it doesn't matter how many years have passed. If I've seen your face before,
I've got it.
I'll know it again."
In the vault.
So I'll get into the deets about what's going on here, but basically Russell's team tested people against control groups on tasks that involved recognising faces, famous people, unfamiliar faces, whatever. And the test group performed way above average. So Russell, this psychologist at Harvard, coined the term super recognisers.
So do they have to recognise, do they have to know the name as well? Or they can say, no I know that person from a thing.
Well, I'll get to the detail because the way they test it, at first you're going to go, that doesn't sound that hard.
Okay.
But then it turns out it is.
Yeah, right, all right.
So he tested these people and look, they were much better at both recognising faces and perceiving details of faces than people who weren't. And they basically as good at recognising and understanding and memorying faces as the people, the prosopagnosics, are terrible at it. So they were really the opposite end of the spectrum as the people who are face blind. So we go to UNSW, University of New South Wales. A guy called Dave White, he leads the face research lab. He started examining people with brain injuries in the early 2010s. And he said he found tremendous variation in the ability to recognise faces. And at the upper end, these super recognisers, 1 or 2% of the population, which is small.
They're out there.
So what do you do with this gift?
Solve crimes.
Absolutely.
Of course it is. I mean,
showbiz.
You hinted it with
showbiz.
Showbiz? Okay.
Yeah.
But you hinted it with that person that solved a serial shoplifting. I mean, that's got to be the most useful place. Or you could be a great politician, just remembering people from...
I know you. My policy is I recognise you.
Yeah, no, it
I've
helps.
seen you before.
It helps.
No, it does help. Actually, I do agree. London Metro Police, they started a special unit, 2007. So they had a little unit to pull together photographs of unidentified criminals from CCTV, and they were called the Caught on Camera Mob. And they wanted to know if people could, work out who they were. And he said it very quickly became apparent that some officers were much better than others.
Okay.
So, for example, if they got 100 names and possible candidates, some of the officers would say, here's 10 or 15. I put in 10 or 15 potential bad guys.
Yep.
Most other officers are like maybe 1 out of 100.
Okay, yeah.
So some were like multiple times better.
So computers can't do this?
Well, we're going to get to that. Because, yes, it's a good question because a lot of this stuff is happening early 2000 into the 2010s.
I would have thought that, spotting people from CCTV is a thing that computers should be good at.
They should be. They're getting better.
Okay.
But they're not perfect. And these people still have jobs.
All right.
He basically assumed, this is DCI Neville, he assumed that basically these police who are good at identifying just remembered criminals better. Like, we know these guys. But then he realised some of the best people at doing this could pick a suspect they'd never met merely after seeing a flash of one photograph of them. Oh, man. Just like, yep, that's that guy.
Wow.
There's a dude at the Uni of Greenwich. He tested 20 of these mega cops, and most were better than average, but some were freakishly good. Like there was a guy, a Constable Gary, London riots in 2011. Do you remember them? Because I don't. I'm sure they had them. They're horrible. London rioted.
Yeah, worst.
So a bunch of the officers, they went through thousands of hours, tens of thousands of hours of CCTV footage. They identified 609 suspects, looting, arson, naughty things. Collins himself, 180 of them. He just...
Off the charts.
He could see him, that's that guy, that's a... Blah, 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 blah,
so
blah,
where
blah,
is
blah,
he
blah.
getting, like, his memory of... Like, is this... He goes out on the beat and he's sort of just seeing people around.
Sees it, yeah.
He just stores it all in the vault.
And he even picked the guy, the main guy, who was really naughty. He'd thrown petrol bombs, he'd set cars on fire, etc. Yeah. His face was covered with a bandana. He had a beanie pulled over his noggin.
So what? We just got like a slit of eyes.
Slither of eyes, and Colin's like, "That's the dude."
Oh man, that's good.
And it was the dude.
Oh wow.
6 years in prison, naughty rioter. Another guy, a few years later, 2012, 2017, another copper, Andy Pope. He identified 1,000 criminals in 5 years just from looking at CCTV and going, I remember that guy from Walking the Beat and blah, 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 blah. He just bang, 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 bang. You just tell who they were. So some people...
He's not just, I mean, he's not just...
making shit up.
Or pinning things on people and just going, there were stories about cops 50 years ago just going, well, it'll look like someone like this, you'll do, in your come.
You mean like black and wearing a beanie?
Yeah, something like that, you'll do.
No, I wanted to make it seem like that's what's going to happen, but no.
Oh, okay.
And this is not 50 years ago. This is 2012 to 17.
When times are perfect.
They were definitely better. 2018, another one of these super recognizers picked out who the poisoner was. Remember those 2 Russian agents?
This is a Cluedo plot.
Yeah, it is. It is.
With
2 Russian agents.
The wrench in the library.
No, this is something like, what is it, a poison umbrella at Stonehenge or something like this, but he was kind of went...
Poison umbrella was in the 70s. This was the more recent one in the...
Yeah, the Novichok poisonings.
Yeah.
2 Russian double agents. Yep. The father and the daughter were poisoned. And this copper went, there they are. I can see it. I know who it is. Boom, boom, boom. And so they became really popular. This super recognizers unit, people went fucking amazing. We're going to get them in. So they did advice to German police, India, Australia, United States, all over the place. They started going around super recognizing people. And in the 2010s, Queensland police started their own, Your Mob.
Yeah.
So as a headline from last year, March last year, Queensland PS Police Service Super Recogniser Network cracks 1,000 cases.
Oh, nice.
Just from last year. Or it came up to that. And there's a bunch of private agencies. Oh, no, we have super recognisers too.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Private eye with super recognisers.
And here's a difficult one to find. superrecognisersinternational.com.
Look, fair enough. I mean, if you have it, I feel like you've got to pass a test though. Can't just claim it.
Look, I looked at their website and their services and like I couldn't find in a quick search anything that said, here are our certified super recognisers, but they may have them. They just didn't make it obvious, which I think is surprising. So there's a thing called the Glasgow Face Matching Test, the GFMT.
Is that like the Bristol stool chart?
Yep. Yeah. Only more facey.
More facey, less stooly.
Participants are shown pairs of faces and asked to determine whether they show the same person or two different people. This is what I was saying earlier.
Okay.
Sounds so simple.
So two faces, is this the same?
Is this the same person or not?
So like, are they obviously not exactly the same photo, but it's like, what, slightly different? Give me a look. All right.
He's looking at two pairs here for those of you on the earballs.
So we've got a woman with sort of a short bob haircut just down below her ears. It's dark hair.
Yeah.
One expression is a little bit surprised. One is a little bit sullen. And one sort of slightly different tilt of the head.
Yeah.
It could be the same person, but I don't think it is because I think the thickness of the eyebrows is quite different.
God, he's a scholar.
And the openness of the eyes, the surprise.
The surprise.
That means that
no one human could have both of those emotions.
No, there's a few things there that suggest different.
Yep. And the second picture? The second
okay,
pair?
so this is your shaven head guy in both, but I think they've got different hairlines. They look similar. And there's elements like the nose looks very similar, but they've got different hairlines. They're all different. They're all four different people. One person. This is all one person. This is all one person.
So the women are the same.
Oh, yeah.
The men are not.
Yeah, okay.
So straight away, this is pretty straightforward, and the picture's not terrible.
Are you saying I'm out of Super Recognisers Club?
Instantly.
Oh my God.
You're gonna have to go back to your day job. But like straight away though, you look at it when I was told, when I read it, it's like, oh, that is the same woman. I'm like, well, it's obvious now that I know it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't before. So when I first read about this test, I'm like, see these two faces, at the same person or a different person? I'm like, yeah, child's play. Turns out it's not.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
It's not that easy. So when you actually test people for it, if they're unfamiliar faces, not familiar faces, not people you know, they're just whoever it might be on your CCTV footage. So for the average person, your error rate's about up to 20%, 15, 20%.
Particularly also, as you said before, CCTV grainy and they're not looking directly at the camera. Yeah. It's always tangential.
But these to be clear, these examples, I'm going to show you a grainy one in a moment, but that's clear photos, 15 to 20% error rate. And they found in previous research that even people like passport officers are no better than the standard person, staring at your photo, staring at the person standing in front of them. They're like, it's probably you.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I thought the photo on your passport's pretty representative. I mean, I know we have different hair and whatnot, but...
Yeah. Huh. And the people who do it all day, every day, wanting to kill themselves, probably because it would get boring.
Wanting to be very
protect their borders.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that they can get a bit bored.
Okay, yeah, I accept that.
They're no better than anyone else, which is not a slight on them. It's the reality of how we work.
Yeah.
But so super recognizers with unfamiliar faces, including a group of police trainees. So their average error rate, non-super recognizers, same as us, 19%. For super recognizers, most of them 4% or less, and one got 100%.
Okay.
So they just can. They look at it and go, it's definitely not.
Yeah, right.
It's definitely not that. Another experiment, they used celebrity photos, but they kind of pixelated them to look more like a CCTV. So don't squint because that's cheating, but there you go.
Why is squinting going to work better? Yeah, well,
it does make it better. Yeah.
There's some princes right there.
Yeah. So what are we looking at?
Prince Harold.
We're looking at two pairs. Okay, so look at the left two pair. Is that both Harry, or is that neither Harry, or is it?
No. One of them's Harry. The other's just some guy.
Some guy, and the other two pairs.
That's Harry, and they're both Harry. Yeah.
So you nailed that one.
Who's the some guy?
Not Harry.
It's that Ed Sheeran.
Yes, it's Ed Sheeran with a haircut and no guitar. But apparently with this one, super recognizes 7 errors, 7%. Standard control group, 27% fucked that up. And these are famous faces. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we'll be able to get the links in the show notes and Alex will probably drop this into the actual video, but you can see the difference. As soon as this gets clear and unpixelated, it's much more apparent.
But why does it help if you squint? Like,
Pixelation usually does.
Better?
It's like getting distance. It starts to clarify.
Someone should do the science on that.
They really have. So also some of the first research on super recognizers used these before they were famous shots of people. They go, who's the child of the celebrity, the child version of the celebrity.
Oh, they can do that. They can go back in time too.
Yeah, and they're also shit hot at that. They're like, that person is clearly that person, I mean, like I'd be useless at this. You look at a baby photo of me and go, that's that guy. No question. There's nothing about this giant face that didn't look the same.
No, maybe you're different. To you feel like you look like the same person. But
no one has ever looked at a baby photo.
Like,
no, everyone who's seen a baby photo of me has gone, well, that's clearly you, isn't it? There's no denying.
I got to say, you get in the iPhone does this. I'm sure other phones do as well. But having the picks images of people and it says, this is person X, whatever, and but it goes back into like baby photos, and it's like you can see from a 10-year-old to an 8-year-old. Okay, that's pretty close. But to go back into literally
like 3 weeks old,
something like that, and it's like, wow, you can still see the shape of the face coming together.
They're also very good at remembering faces over a long period of time. So even with a lot of aging, they still go, that's definitely that person, which sometimes is obvious, but sometimes is not. And they're also really good at partial faces, like this woman earlier, like with a mask over her, eyebrows covered her. They're still like, that's
back
him.
Of the head.
That's the guy.
Just your ankles.
An elbow. They're really good at it. They're also very good. The final thing is if they see a lineup of faces and they go, okay, like a lineup in a police lineup, I've seen none of those faces. They're very good at going, no, none of those people.
Oh, okay. So
not like humming and hurrying.
So they don't doubt themselves about it.
That's definitely not that person, or no one, the person we're talking about is not there.
Yeah, okay.
So they're particularly good at that, which saves resources and time, etc. as well. You're just like, nah, none of you, fuck off. How do they do it?
They just do. It goes in the brain bit, and the brain bit processes it, and out pops an answer.
That's exactly what it says here.
There you go. That's the science.
So the underlying reason they can do this is not super clear.
All happens inside.
In the brain, the black box theory of all psychological functioning. The field's very new. Apparently, at least in 2022, there were maybe 20 papers written. Meet reasons for why we might do it. So genetics and biology and shit. There seems to be a genetic component. Twins tend to be, if they're good at it, they're good at it. If they're bad at it, they're bad at it. Also something to do with the thickness of the cortex.
Twins are often raised together though.
Yeah.
Like I know that there are twins that are not always raised together, but...
Well, a spoiler alert is it doesn't seem like you can train yourself to be one. So it does seem to matter. You can't become a super recognizer by doing brain ups.
Yeah.
But there are technique differences. So there's a researcher, woman called Anna Bobak, and she says, look, most people when they're looking at people's faces, they look around the eyes. Standard people stare at the eyes a lot.
Yeah, they just do cheekbones or something.
It's romantic.
Jowls.
They just like romance.
Look at the jowls.
They do. Nothing but the chin point.
The chin point.
Double or not. But super recognizers will focus around the center and the nose.
Oh, the nose.
According to her. It's not that the nose is more important, she says, but more people, they look more at the whole face.
Oh.
And our Aussie bloke at UNSW says, look, he used eye tracking technology. He said they spread their gaze more around the face. So they're probably painting a more elaborate picture of faces automatically. It's not a trained thing, it seems. They just kind of do that. And this is unusual. There's no sexism here. No apparent difference between people with boy stuff and people with lady stuff. Yeah, apparently not.
That's
so far.
No, I would have thought many of these things might be just associated in one direction.
I honestly, if you'd asked me, I would have said probably women are better because dudes don't seem to give a shit or are biologically wired not to. Like, I don't care if I recognize you. Are you threat or are you buddy or are you prey or predator? Yeah. Like being brutal and old school about it, but apparently no sex differences. So there are issues. There are race effects.
Okay.
People who they are either of your own race, so to speak, or people around who you are surrounded by. They're better at recognizing people they're familiar with.
Oh, okay. So familiar types of face from the local environment versus recognizing from different countries.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like a super recognizer in our town would probably not be as good with African-American faces because there aren't a lot in their daily lives.
Yep.
That seems to be a thing. They're also, as I put it here, cocky much. Studies compared highly trained forensic examiners with super recognizers.
Yep.
Not necessarily the same people at all. Super recognizers, super confident in their decisions. Even in, they do say the rare cases they're wrong, they're pretty fucking sure they're right. Whereas forensic guys, they're told, look, you probably messed up. And they go, yeah, fair call, I can mess up. So the super recognizers get a little bit too sure of themselves. But this has implications. So like the label itself, the notion or calling someone a super recognizer itself may be an issue in court. And our UNSW man again, White, says, look, when super recognizers are wrong, and they might be, they often, they can fuck up. They're just better at it than us normal folks. But if a jury, for example, hears this person is a super recognizer, they're like, well, they're They're super.
It's a superpower. Oh my God.
100%.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a problem. Like that is a problem. And I don't know how often they've been used. A little bit
like DNA evidence that for a long time has been held as not just gold standard, but ironclad, impossible to be wrong.
Yep.
But there are many elements of the DNA collection process or the measurement and the tracking, everything.
It's straight misunderstanding. Infallible. The bottom line with DNA, I think one of my favourites is just because this suggests that person's DNA matches the person at the crime scene, people will, if they're not paying attention, interpret that as likelihood of guilt.
Yeah.
Not whether they're more or less likely to be the same as the DNA at the crime scene. And this I don't think is necessarily that different. But really more often, studies have found super recognisers don't necessarily have better memories, higher IQ or anything. Also, lab tests, when they're shown a face, super recognisers are very good at recognising whether they've seen them before, but you ask them about context or the scene.
Oh, no, nothing. Definitely seen it. Definitely.
Yep. Where? Before? In or outside? Like, so there's no context.
So not so useful. Like, it's like...
Yeah. Yes, that is the same face as that face. Where did you see it before?
I feel like if you're trying to find a criminal, you might need to associate somewhere and go, okay, yeah, now I've got a name, or they went to this school.
I feel like it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But look, the upside of this is it's saying, let's be reasonable, let's put parameters around their abilities. Yeah. They're useful to a point. But
Yeah.
And again, it's the super thing. It's got to be fun, though.
You're raising that like maybe it's not. I mean, it's nice to forget things as well. You know, like
I totally agree.
And
totally agree.
And to be forgotten, maybe not everyone needs to be remembered from preschool.
No, they don't. So there's one guy from London. He's a super recogger, and he said, look, he talked to a guy at a trade show who he thought he knew, and the dude apparently was a bit awkward about that. And it turns out he didn't know him; he'd just seen him on a Facebook page. So it's like, man, I haven't seen you since a blah blah. I was like, I don't know you, buddy. I don't know you.
Yeah, okay. Whatever. You made a new friend,
or a new
calm
suspicious.
Down. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, right. Fair enough.
Another one said, look, it's a really awkward situation socially when I recognise someone but they don't know or remember me. For example, they're at a petrol station, they go like, hey, I know you, blah, 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 but they actually don't know them at all. So you've got to learn how to, I think, pull back. Yeah. You've got to pull back. And there's a woman who said, look, she can recognise hundreds of people who are in a large lecture classes at her university. Hundreds of them. She'd just sit in the university, who they were, where they sat, the whole thing.
Yep.
And so she'll be sitting around having a chat, and she might, at least at first, she would talk to people and she'd say, this led to strange encounters because all these faces looked so familiar to me. And then when I spoke to people in the class, they didn't know me. Yeah. And I told them where they sat, when, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like, who the fuck are you,
stop being so weird. And she's like, no, I do it about everyone.
Yeah, it's not weird.
It's fine.
You're not special. But so you can imagine, unless you learn how to control or hide your powers, people would be like, you don't fucking know me. And I can imagine you'd get confused.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, I started looking at this. I was looking at memory in general, and then I came on this thing, and it made me think of Westworld, that the what do they call them? Hosts.
Yep.
And one of the problems, spoiler alert.
These are the robots.
The robots.
Robots that look like humans.
And the first season in particular demonstrated in a sense that the host had perfect memory, and it made past and present blur. She couldn't quite at times distinguish. Yeah, when is something happening if you remember all of it.
Yeah, with perfect precision.
Yeah, remembering everything could be really quite traumatic, and not just because you remember icky things, but like...
Oh, no, we're designed to forget. It is.
Yeah, we are.
It's much better off if we forget.
100% we're designed to forget.
And you know, relationships are better when people forget the things that aren't helpful to...
You didn't empty the dishwasher.
There you go, you know.
I agree. Like, it's better sometimes you kind of go...
Well, isn't there that thing, you know, the happiest people are the people that, not quite forgetting, but are able to be somewhat delusional about themselves.
I wouldn't know, but I've heard in others. So what about the future? Like, where do we go with this?
Soup it up.
Well, can you train for it? No.
No.
It appears you need to have it no matter what, and they've tried, and no, you don't get better. Are there jobs? Not a lot. Not really.
So just in the police?
But they don't really advertise either. It tends to be like you're already a cop and you appear to be good at it, so... People aren't lining up for that.
So they don't need it that much. Okay, fair enough.
Not really. And your question, which is a very reasonable one to ask, and it's interesting with this because these stories, some of them are only 5 or 6 years old, but we're already going, yeah, what about computers?
Yeah.
And so it's the most common question asked. They're trying to build 3D. There are 3D representations of faces. There are algorithms that can process it, but a lot of arguments are, well, we still need people to put nuance and context around it. I reckon... Not long from now, we might not.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if it's that much of a big deal anymore, sadly. But look, one of the questions I had, which is why did it take so long for scientists to notice the ability? I think that's interesting about science. Like how come this century?
Yeah.
This century. And one...
and particularly that police would have absolutely found this super useful.
Hell yeah. For
in
centuries.
any era of policing.
Centuries, yeah. One source was saying, well, look, it's our buddy White from UNSW again. He says, I think intuitively people believe that the way they see the world is the same as everyone else.
Yeah, of course.
Which is true. And scientists are the same. So they're like, why would you assume this gift or this power or this ability existed?
Yeah.
You don't have it. Why would you even look for it?
Yeah, okay.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, no, I accept that. I accept
scientists
that.
Are people.
But you could notice the fact that some people seem to recognize a lot more people. But
Yenny from the beginning, she didn't realize, and her mother just said, "Oh, what an observant daughter I have."
Yeah,
not like, "Oh my God, you amazing brain."
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And did she become a gun for hire? Like, did she get out there and become super recognizer?
No.
Nope. At least in 22, she is apparently happy with her job as a technician at a pathology lab.
Okay.
But she's just happy that she realised her ability is not freakish. Other people have it. I'm just wired that way. And because she realised quite early, if you use it too much indiscriminately, it can seem creepy.
Yeah.
She backed off that early, but she's glad that it's not because she's creepy. Mm. So, yeah, super recognises. It sounds so awesome. It sounds like Tom Cruise, Future Crimes, all that kind of shit, but it's just not.
Oh.
It's just not.
Superpowers, not what they cracked up
also,
to be.
What would your superpower be? I can really tell if I've seen a face before.
Look, it's not an unuseful one, but yeah, I get it.
I'd choose other ones.
Yeah.
Got any mailbag?
Yeah. A couple of days ago, we talked again about forgetting things, putting them down the memory hole. Things that we...
That rings a bell.
Listener and friend of the pod, CJ Josh, reckons that the Spanish flu, maybe something going on there, is that it may have killed more women than men because the men were off fighting the fight and things, and that was back at home. So maybe there was an effect there.
There were less men to kill.
I don't know.
Got any new things you're thinking about?
Oh, yeah, okay. The first one I was just thinking about, I was hearing about this the other day. It's called, it's a form of landscaping.
Manscaping?
No, it's not manscaping. It's, it's landscaping so things look pretty, but also to turn your place into a fortress. It's called target hardening landscaping.
Target hardening landscaping.
Yeah.
I like it.
So basically it looks like a bunch of bushes, but actually it's something
actually a concrete gun emplacement.
It's not quite a concrete gun emplacement, but it's a concrete emplacement that is designed in some way to, so if your terrorists want to try and ram a building or something like that, they get caught in the bushes.
Stuck in the brambles.
Then their car flips over. Yeah, but it's a version of landscaping that has far more, threat in it.
Yeah, landscaping on military roads.
Yeah. So I was intrigued by that, and I'm looking for examples now.
I like that as a recently qualified professional horticulturalist, because I did do a 17-hour course.
Did you do the target hardening landscape?
Yes, we did.
Your soils and your target hardening.
And your pests and predators and parasites,
terrorists,
and how can you repel people in Humvees with missile launchers, but just with plants.
I was enjoying that. What else you got?
Well, I've been curious about this one. It's pretty big, but symmetry. Now, like we know symmetry has something to do with attractiveness. Like we often, people who are more symmetrical are apparently more attractive. I disagree.
Like squares and things like that.
Yes, I love
your rhombus.
I love a dodecahedral face on my lady companion.
Indeed.
But also like chemically and functionally, biology, like you have your left versus right facing chemicals and stuff. Like symmetry at base levels of nature, it's just weird to me that symmetry matters so much or has such an effect. I don't know what the question is other than, what the fuck symmetry?
Oh my God. A flip in the chirality,
that's the word.
That's the symmetry of two different molecules.
Yeah.
So chirality was actually what caused thalidomide to be
your
such
left
a problem.
versus right.
Yeah, it was a compound. I don't know which direction was fine in one side, but flip it around.
But isn't that wacky?
Catastrophic.
Simple as that.
Totally.
Flip it and boom, everything explodes.
Totally. But yeah, there's some sort of theory out there that to tell you if you're in a different multiverse is you could spot symmetry somehow. I don't know.
You just go look at thalidomide.
I don't know, something like that. Yes.
Or the plus side, which is excellent halide.
I got another one. I don't think you're on Truth Social, but not that long ago.
Not a lot.
Not that long ago.
I invested in it though. I'm not stupid.
Donald Trump crowed about winning the Open and
French Open
at his own golf tournament, the Trump International Golf Tournament. He won the two big trophies.
Did he?
Yeah. And whatever. It's his own trophy, so I don't know what's going on there. But what I was interested in is the number of people who have played Trump in golf who are very good golfers, and they know he cheats, but they always let him cheat. And the weird thing is, so many of these famous pro golfers who would normally be invested in having a proper game of golf, they play with Trump and they know he's going to cheat, and he cheats brazenly right in front of them. And they're like, and so why do all these people let it? Like there's examples.
What's the fucking point? What's the point?
For him?
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's 2 points. But like as an example, like he would literally, like he's teeing off and the other golfer's watching, and Trump takes a swing, completely misses. Like there's no sound, no anything, and
swing and a miss,
and Trump walks off like he's hit it onto the green. Like he just goes, cool,
there's
done,
no ball
and
there.
Strides off
there's
to the
no
green
ball
with another ball, and his assistant,
500-yard
caddy
shot.
will pick it up. Yep, exactly, and he'll just drop another ball on the green and go, that's what I did.
How fucked up do you have to be that is desirable? Like, honestly.
So I reckon there's two components. One is Trump loves to test people to see how loyal they will be. And
that I give him, like for that I give him points.
He is
shit stirring.
He is I'm going to do this right in front of you and see if you'll say anything. Yep, 100%. And on the other side,
say it out loud. No, look at this. I'm going to miss this ball. I'm going to pretend I didn't. My caddy's going to pick it up, and I'm going to drop it right next to the hole, and you can get fucked.
And it's literally Emperor's New Clothes. Like it's like
I got no beef with that.
I am 100% nude here, but if you call me on it,
here's my ding dong. Like that aspect of it, I actually applaud. It's like, fuck it, let's find out.
So that's on that side. But why do people let him get away with it? And I think it's something to do with everyone wants their own story of Trump cheating in front of them, but it's still a weird thing to everyone to let him.
Ooh. I got one more. So reality TV. Here's my question. It's inspired by a particularly excellent example. Is any of it real? Would we want it to be? Like, how much would you actually want reality TV to be real?
What do you mean by real?
Like, actually no kind of tweaking. Like, is that a documentary? Is that just boring as shit? Like, here's a guy who sorts envelopes. We're just going to show you that. Boom, reality TV. Like, I'm kind of intrigued by it.
What is your definition of real here?
Well, that's something we'd have to get into.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I mean, one argument is, they're not actors, but other than that, manipulated, tweaked, whatever.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's just like I'm intrigued by it because I know people who are obsessed with it.
I mean,
know people
one
who
version
make
I
it.
think is it's like chemistry. We know that in the normal world, the chemicals are not isolated from each other and they're all interacting all over the place. But when we get to the lab, we're like, okay, I just want to have these two molecules.
So you fake the environment.
You fake the environment. You make a glass jar, you get rid of everything else. And that's what you're doing kind of in reality TV. It's like the chemistry version of molecules.
I agree. And I'm curious about that. Like what would be good? What would be bad? Why does it work? And honestly, I just have to say this because I was looking up some stuff about it. Born in the Wild 2015. Have you heard of this?
Born in the Wild. No, I don't think so.
It really made me happy. This documents couples who want to have a more natural birthing experience by delivering a baby in the great outdoors, unassisted by modern medicine. They're literally pictures.
Oh my God.
Of women screaming and wailing by a river.
Well, that's
with no one else other than, I assume, camera crew and producers.
It is strange to go, all right, I want this to be as natural as possible. I can understand the instinct there.
Sure.
But also with camera crew.
Yep.
That's
but in the wilderness too. Not a home birth. We're not talking water birth or I don't want the epidural. I want to do it in a forest, butt naked, nothing medical around me. That's a reality TV show, which apparently caused some controversy in 2015.
Oh my God, of course it did. Where was that?
America. I know you're shocked, right?
Yeah.
So
No, it could have been other countries.
But there's so much going on in the reality TV space, and I don't even know, again, what's the question? I don't know if it's, we know none of it's 100% just filming and nothing more.
Yeah.
We know there's editing involved. Even that alone makes a difference. But I'm just curious about how real do we really want it to be? How real do we believe it to be? And if it was really, really real and unedited, it'd probably be fucking boring too. Like what's meh? So I don't know. Reality TV.
There you go.
Stuff around it.
I got one last one. I feel like this is a topic that I want to know more about,
Yeah.
I see people talking about it, but I don't know if they're talking about it in the ways that I think about it. The news crisis.
Too much of it?
No.
It's too accurate?
People have turned off the news. Like they're like, no one wants to watch the news anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to know what's going on there. Because I feel like I have turned off the news a fair bit recently. I don't.
For what news do you turn on?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
what are you turning off?
Well, I don't know. I'm reading the news less than I was a year ago, and I think there's a lot of people that are in that camp. And I know there's a lot of journalists who are like, oh, they're not reading us as much, and they say this is a bad thing for society, for democracy, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I kind of care, but I kind of want to know what's actually happening here. What's going on? Are people just changing what they're looking at? Is it Facebook's fault? Is it something else? Listener, if you've got anything you want us to dive down into a rabbit hole of, send it in.
We'll do it.
Chuck in the comments. Send us an email at cheers@wholesomeshow.com.